Over 1,000 years after the pyramids were built, the greatest chapter in Egypt's history was just beginning. The new kingdom, an explosion of creativity, wealth, and power. It would be the envy of civilizations to come. The Greeks, the Romans, Napoleon, all would look for inspiration to the men and women who built the first empire in recorded history. Yet the Golden Age might never have happened. In 1560 BC, Egypt was in crisis. For the first time in history, the kingdom of the ancient pyramid builders was now occupied and divided. Egypt was on the verge of extinction. In the north, a foreign king had invaded and declared himself Pharaoh. His people, the Hyksos, now occupied the rich Nile Delta. To the south, the warlike Nubians threatened the last remnants of Egypt.
The invasion of the Hyksos to Egypt was really a shock, a surprise, because this is the first time that Egypt was completely invaded. This is the first time that a strange people entered in Egypt and lived for 150 years.
The Egyptian royal line and its city, Thebes, had fallen on hard times. But one local family was determined to revive Egypt's former glory. The king of Thebes and his two sons, the young princes, Kamos and his brother Akhmos. The fate not only of their capital, Thebes, but Egypt itself, lay in their hands.
Essentially, it was a time of great trial for the traditional ruling family of Egypt. And the Thebans are really just pawns in this, between these two superpowers. They are not the superpower. So really, Ahmosa and Kamosa had become minor princes. And there was a feeling that Egypt, as it had been known for the past 1,500 years, could cease to exist.
Kamos and Akhmos's hatred of the Hyksos was personal. Their father tried to rebel against the invaders in the north. He paid a terrible price. 3,500 years later, his corpse still bears witness to his brutal slaughter at the hands of the enemy.
The face is grisly, partly because it wasn't well preserved, and there are many, many axe marks all over the head. It must have been a Hyksos struggle, and it must have been fairly bloody.
Traditionally, Egyptians viewed foreigners as primitive and barbaric. For young Kamos, the death of his father at the hands of the Hyksos must have been humiliating as well as tragic.
In the ideology of the Egyptians, the foreigner is the inherent enemy, the inherent inferior, over whom the Egyptians have been given divine power by the deities.
They are described as that vile foe, people who are beyond the pale. Foreigners are dirt under the feet of the pharaoh.
Images of foreigners were carved on footstools like this, so Egyptians could show their superiority by literally trampling on them. Nubians, Libyans, Asiatics were depicted as ugly, as savages, not worthy of placing a foot on Egyptian sand. But now northern Egypt, and even the pyramids, stood on land governed by foreigners.
This was the worst thing to the mind of the Egyptian. The pyramid to Ahmos, to Amosi and Kamos was a kind of a reminder. Tell them, we need the glory of Egypt to come back. And this gave them the power to unite, to defeat those strange people and dismiss them away from Egypt.